What if I told you that in just 30 days, you could completely transform your life? That the struggles you face, the patterns you can't seem to break, and the potential that always feels just out of reach all come down to one thing. Something hidden inside you, waiting to be unlocked. This isn't another feel-good, surface-level self-help trick. This is deeper. It's raw. It's real. It's called shadow work, and it's the single most powerful tool I've discovered for personal transformation. But here's the catch. Shadow work requires courage. It asks you to face the part of yourself you've been avoiding, the part that holds your fears, your insecurities, and yes, your untapped power. For most of us, these hidden parts of ourselves are running the show, shaping our choices, our habits, and even our relationships without us realizing it. But when you bring them into the light, that's when everything changes. In this video, I'm going to challenge you to do shadow work for just 30 days. I'll walk you through exactly what it is, why it works, and the simple steps you can take to uncover and integrate your shadow self. By the end of this challenge, you'll be more authentic, more confident, and more aligned with who you were always meant to be. In short, you'll become unrecognizable in the best way possible. So, are you ready to face your shadow and transform your life? Let's get started. Shadow work. It's a term you've probably heard, but what does it really mean? And why is it so transformative? To understand shadow work, we need to dive into the teachings of Carl Jung, the renowned psychologist who introduced the concept of the shadow. According to Jung, every human being has 4 main archetypes that govern their lives. First, there's the persona, the mask you show the world. It's the version of yourself you present to fit in, to play by society's rules. Then there's the anima and animus, the feminine and masculine energies within you that influence your emotions, creativity, and relationships. The third is the hero, the part of you that strives to overcome challenges and rise above life's difficulties. And finally, there's the shadow. This is the part of you that holds your hidden fears, your unspoken desires, and your greatest potential. It's not the evil side of you, as we're often taught to believe. It's the part of you that's been suppressed, either because it didn't fit societal norms or because it felt too uncomfortable to face. But here's the truth. Your shadow is not something to fear. It's the key to your personal power. When you learn to integrate it, rather than suppress it, you achieve what Jung called individuation, a state of harmony between every part of yourself. This is where true growth, authenticity, and fulfillment lie. In today's video, I'll take you step by step through the process of shadow work. You'll learn how to identify your shadow, bring it into the light, and integrate it into your life. By the end, you'll not only understand your shadow, you'll embrace it as a source of strength and transformation. This isn't just about feeling better. It's about becoming whole. And it all starts with understanding the shadow self. The shadow self is a term that often feels mysterious, even intimidating. But understanding it is the first step to unlocking its transformative power. So what is the shadow? Simply put, it's the part of you that you've hidden away, the traits, emotions, and desires you've been taught to suppress or deny. This could be anything from anger and jealousy to creativity and ambition. Society often labels these aspects as unacceptable, and over time, they get pushed into your subconscious, forming your shadow. But here's the catch. Just because you suppress something doesn't mean it disappears. The shadow doesn't go away. It lingers in your subconscious, influencing your thoughts, decisions, and reactions in ways you don't even realize. It might show up as self-sabotage, unexplained anxiety, or patterns you can't seem to break, no matter how hard you try. Think about it like this: your shadow is a locked treasure chest. Yes, it contains fears and insecurities, but it also holds immense power, creativity, and potential. The key is learning how to open that chest and integrate what's inside. This process is what Carl Jung called individuation, bringing every part of yourself into alignment so you can live authentically and fully. When you integrate your shadow, you stop being controlled by it. Instead, you gain clarity, balance, and a sense of inner freedom. Here's an example. Let's say you were taught that expressing anger is wrong, so you suppress it. Over time, that suppressed anger doesn't just vanish. It might show up as passive aggressiveness, resentment, or even physical symptoms like tension and headaches. But when you confront that anger, acknowledge it, and understand its root, it loses its grip on you. You can express it in healthy, constructive ways, rather than letting it simmer under the surface. Your shadow isn't your enemy. It's a part of you that's been waiting for acknowledgement and acceptance. By facing it, you transform it from something that controls you into something that empowers you. In the next section, we'll explore what happens when the shadow is suppressed for too long, and why embracing it is the key to breaking free from patterns that no longer serve you. What happens when you suppress your shadow self? The answer is simple. It doesn't go away, it grows. And over time, the effects of suppression can take a toll on every aspect of your life. When you deny parts of yourself, it's like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. The more you push it down, the harder it fights to resurface. This resistance drains your energy and creates tension, both mentally and physically. You might feel exhausted at the end of the day, not because of the work you've done, but because of the effort it takes to keep parts of yourself hidden. This is what I call persona fatigue. When you're constantly wearing a mask to fit in or meet expectations, it's only a matter of time before you burn out. Pretending to be someone you're not takes a tremendous amount of energy, leaving you feeling depleted, disconnected, and often unfulfilled. But it doesn't stop there. Suppressing your shadow can lead to anxiety, self-sabotage, and patterns of behavior that seem to repeat no matter how hard you try to break free. For example, you might notice that certain situations trigger you, whether it's a critical comment, a challenging relationship, or an unmet goal. These triggers are often clues, pointing directly to parts of your shadow that need attention. When the shadow remains unacknowledged, it can manifest in destructive ways. Repressed emotions might explode at inappropriate times, or you might find yourself overcompensating in other areas of life, striving for perfection to hide your perceived flaws. The worst part? Suppressing your shadow keeps you from being authentic. It robs you of the freedom to express who you truly are, and it creates a sense of disconnection, not just from others, but from yourself. Here's the truth. You can only suppress your shadow for so long before it demands to be seen. The good news? Facing your shadow is the first step toward healing and transformation. When you stop running from it and start embracing it, you reclaim the energy you've been using to suppress it. That energy becomes a powerful force for growth, creativity, and self-discovery. In the next section, we'll talk about one of the most important tools for working with your shadow: vulnerability. This is where true transformation begins. Vulnerability. It's a word that makes many of us uncomfortable. We've been taught to associate vulnerability with weakness, with letting our guard down, or with exposing ourselves to judgment and rejection. But here's the truth. Vulnerability is one of the most powerful tools for transformation, especially when it comes to shadow work. Why? Because the shadow thrives in secrecy. The parts of yourself you've suppressed, whether it's fear, anger, shame, or ambition, gain their power by staying hidden. When you bring them into the light through vulnerability, they lose their grip on you. Think about the times you've felt most authentic, when you've allowed yourself to be seen for who you truly are. Maybe it was admitting a mistake, sharing a fear, or opening up about a dream you've kept hidden. Those moments feel raw, but they're also liberating. That's because vulnerability creates space for honesty and connection, not just with others, but with yourself. Here's an example. Imagine you've always felt the need to appear strong and capable, never asking for help. Over time, this persona becomes exhausting to maintain. You start to feel isolated and the pressure builds. But the moment you allow yourself to be vulnerable, to admit you're struggling and ask for support, you release that pressure. You create an opportunity for others to connect with you on a deeper level. This same principle applies to shadow work. When you allow yourself to be vulnerable, you give yourself permission to explore the parts of your shadow that you've been avoiding. You can acknowledge feelings of shame without judgment, express hidden desires without guilt, and confront fears with courage. Brené Brown, a researcher and storyteller, describes vulnerability as the birthplace of creativity, innovation, and change. It's not about oversharing or exposing yourself recklessly. It's about being honest with yourself and others in a way that fosters growth and connection. Vulnerability is also the antidote to shame. Shame tells you that you're flawed, that you're not enough, and that you need to hide. But when you bring those feelings into the open, when you share them with empathy and honesty, they lose their power. You start to see that your flaws don't define you. They're just one part of your story. Embracing vulnerability doesn't happen overnight. It's a practice, one that takes time and intention. But the more you lean into it, the more you'll discover its transformative potential. In the next section, I'll guide you through a 30-day shadow work challenge that uses vulnerability and awareness to unlock your true potential. Get ready. This is where the real transformation begins. Now it's time to take action. Over the next 30 days, you'll embark on a shadow work challenge that will help you uncover, understand, and integrate the hidden parts of yourself. This isn't just about reflection. It's about transformation. Here's how the challenge works. Step 1. Create your shadow document. Start by opening a journal or a notes app on your phone and creating a private shadow document. This will be your space to explore the parts of yourself you've suppressed. Title it something that feels personal to you, like My Shadow Work Journal or Exploring My Truth. Begin by listing 3 categories: characteristics, attitudes, and behaviors. For each category, identify 5 traits or actions that you believe are part of your shadow self. These might be things you've been taught to feel ashamed of, like competitiveness, anger, or self-doubt. Be honest with yourself. The goal isn't to judge these traits. It's to bring them into the light. Step 2. Observe without judgment. For the first week, simply observe. Pay attention to when these traits or behaviors show up in your daily life. For example, do you notice yourself feeling jealous in certain situations? Do you avoid conflict because you fear rejection? Write down your observations in your shadow document, but don't try to change anything yet. Awareness is the first step to transformation. Step 3. Practice radical acceptance. In the second week, shift your focus to acceptance. When you notice a shadow trait emerging, take a moment to acknowledge it without judgment. Say to yourself, "This is a part of me, and that's okay." Remember, your shadow isn't inherently bad. It's a part of who you are, and it deserves compassion. Step 4. Find healthy expressions. During the third week, explore ways to express your shadow traits constructively. For example, if your shadow includes anger, channel it into physical activity like running or boxing. If it includes competitiveness, use it as motivation to improve your skills rather than comparing yourself to others. The goal is to let your shadow find its voice in a way that aligns with your values. Step 5. Integrate your shadow. In the final week, reflect on what you've learned. Look at your shadow traits not as weaknesses, but as sources of strength. How have they helped you in the past? How can they contribute to your growth moving forward? Integration is about finding balance, allowing your shadow to coexist with your higher self, rather than trying to suppress or overemphasize it. This 30-day challenge is a commitment to yourself, a commitment to face the parts of you that you've kept hidden and embrace them as valuable pieces of your identity. Remember, shadow work is a journey, not a destination. There's no perfect way to do it, and the insights you gain may surprise you. But by the end of these 30 days, you'll have a deeper understanding of yourself, a stronger sense of authenticity, and a newfound clarity about who you are and where you're going. In the next section, we'll explore what transformation looks like when you've integrated your shadow, and how it can lead to a life of greater freedom, connection, and purpose. So, what happens when you've integrated your shadow self? The changes you'll experience go far beyond surface-level improvements. This is about true transformation, becoming a more authentic, balanced, and powerful version of yourself. Let's start with authenticity. When you integrate your shadow, you stop hiding. You no longer feel the need to wear a mask or conform to expectations that don't align with who you are. Instead, you show up as your true self, fully and unapologetically. This authenticity not only feels liberating, but it also deepens your relationships. When you're real with yourself, you can be real with others, creating connections built on trust and understanding. Next is clarity. Integrating your shadow allows you to see yourself and the world more clearly. You're no longer clouded by suppressed emotions or unresolved fears. This clarity helps you make decisions with confidence and align your actions with your values. Life starts to feel less like a battle and more like a flow. Then there's empowerment. Your shadow contains traits and abilities you may have overlooked, like assertiveness, ambition, or creativity. When you embrace these aspects, they become tools for growth and success. You stop sabotaging yourself and start channeling your energy toward goals that truly matter to you. And let's not forget emotional freedom. By bringing your shadow into the light, you release the shame and guilt that have been weighing you down. This doesn't mean you'll never feel these emotions again. It means they'll no longer control you. Instead, you'll approach them with compassion and curiosity, using them as opportunities for growth. Spiritually, integrating your shadow brings a sense of wholeness. Carl Jung called this individuation, a state where every part of you is in harmony. When you reach this state, you feel grounded, connected, and aligned with your higher self. You're no longer at war with yourself, and that peace radiates into every area of your life. One of the most surprising benefits of shadow work is how it transforms your perspective. Challenges that once seemed overwhelming become opportunities for growth. Triggers that used to control you become clues about what needs healing. And the world around you feels less hostile and more connected. But perhaps the greatest transformation is this: you start to see yourself not as broken, but as whole. Every part of you, even the parts you once feared or rejected, becomes a valuable piece of the puzzle. This shift in perspective is life-changing. It's the moment you realize that you are enough just as you are. In the final section, I'll summarize everything we've covered and leave you with a challenge. To start your shadow work journey today and step into the life you were always meant to live. We've come to the end of this journey, but for you, this is just the beginning. Shadow work isn't a one-time exercise. It's a lifelong process of self-discovery, healing, and transformation. Let's recap what we've covered today. You've learned what the shadow self is and why it holds the key to your personal growth. You've seen how suppressing your shadow creates tension, inauthenticity, and patterns that keep you stuck. And you've discovered the power of vulnerability, how bringing your hidden self into the light can set you free. Most importantly, you now have a roadmap, the 30-Day Shadow Work Challenge. By observing your shadow, practicing acceptance, and finding healthy ways to express it, you can start to integrate the parts of yourself you've been avoiding. This process may feel uncomfortable at times, but remember, discomfort is a sign of growth. So here's my challenge to you: start today. Take one small step, whether it's creating your shadow document, reflecting on a suppressed trait, or simply being honest with yourself about how you feel. These small actions, done consistently, will lead to big transformations. Imagine your life 30 days from now, a life where you feel more authentic, more confident, and more aligned with your true self. A life where you're no longer held back by old fears or limiting beliefs. That life is within your reach, and it starts with embracing your shadow. Thank you for watching and taking this journey with me. If you found this video helpful, please like, share, and subscribe for more content like this. And let me know in the comments, what's one part of your shadow you're ready to explore? I'd love to hear about your experiences. Remember, your shadow isn't something to fear, it's something to embrace. It's a part of you, and when you accept it, you unlock the fullness of who you are. This is your time to step into your power, to heal, and to become the person you were always meant to be. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.